Cheltenham Jazz Festival 2024. Looking out the window at the Parabola Arts Centre, I always get it wrong, so I'm going to call it the Pack. It is still raining. Just caught up with Sultan Stevenson, just came off the stage, performed an absolutely brilliant show. Sultan, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I said off mic and off camera, because this is being filmed as well, that you're so young and such a maestro. So when did you first start playing the piano? I know you may have heard that question before, but it interests me when I see someone so young that's so talented.
Well, for me, it really started, I guess, even maybe even before the womb, to be honest. Not to be too kind of philosophical. But it really came from my father, John Stevenson, who used to run a jazz radio station on Barbados, in my parents' home country, Barbados. And he used to play all kinds of stuff, from Duke Ellington to Count Basie to progressive stuff like the Yellow Jackets and Weather Report and Brad Maldonado, who's playing tomorrow at Cheltenham Jazz Festival. And because of that, he used to always get sent loads and loads of CDs. So growing up, my house was full of CDs. There were CDs in the bathroom, there were CDs in the kitchen, there were CDs anywhere you can imagine, there were CDs. And because there are CDs, obviously there's loads of music playing. So from a very early age, music was a very integral part of my being. And I remember relatively, age 8 or 9, I said to my dad, I really want to take saxophone lessons. Because I really didn't want to learn piano, actually, because I always thought piano is such a boring instrument. And everyone plays piano, and it's just not very nice to look at piano. But saxophone is amazing. It's like this gold kind of thing, and it's really cool, and it's like really high connotations with jazz music. So saxophone really drew me. So I said yes to my dad, I want to take saxophone lessons, and he was okay. So he went to my primary school and said to the people, my son really wants to take some saxophone lessons. Do you have a teacher, and you also have a saxophone that he can use to play? But the school said, no, we don't have any saxophones, we don't have any saxophone teachers. But so my dad came back to me and said, we don't have any saxophones, why don't you learn piano in the meantime? And then maybe when you go to secondary school, you're older, you can take saxophone lessons. So I said, okay, fine, take piano lessons. And then went to my first piano lesson. And within 10 minutes of the lesson, I never wanted to learn saxophone ever again. I was sold on the piano and loved it ever since. Did it in primary school, secondary school, sixth form, and then later at the Guildhall School of Music, which I graduated from last year. Still just played piano about 20 minutes. It's the same kind of love and the same intent that I've had since a very young age for learning the piano, my love of music and jazz and piano in general. How about everyone?
It certainly does. It sort of made me smile when you said about the CDs, because my office is full of CDs. I'm so glad it's digital these days. But although I've started to collect vinyl, and that does take up a lot of space. It does. Were you raised in Barbados, or did you move over to the UK at an early age?
Well, I was actually raised here. I was born and raised actually for the first 5 years of my life in Dalston in East London. But my parents, my dad, he was born in a little island called St. Vincent, and then he was moved to Barbados by his parents, my grandparents, at a very, very young age, a couple of weeks after birth. But both my grandparents from that side, they both come from Barbados. But my mum, she was born here in Dalston, and both of her parents and my grandparents on that side, they're both from Barbados. So I have a very strong kind of connection with Barbados. I've been a couple of times. It's literally even better than it seems in the pictures and the videos and all the commercials and stuff. So it's a really special place. It's a very special place to me, and I love going back.
You also, you say you graduated from the Guildhall School of Music, but you also were a Tomorrow's Warrior. You also, I believe, did you get the Julian Joseph Award as well?
Yes, so I'm in the Expanding the Tomorrow's Warriors program. Great program that has been running for over 25 years now. Run by Gary Crosby and his partner Janine Irons. We have a nice home at the South Bank Centre. And that was a very important thing for me because that provided a very strong jazz kind of foundation for me. And also, yes, I also spent time at the Julian Joseph Jazz Academy in Dalston, so it's all Dalston today. And that was a really special time as well because obviously Julian Joseph is an incredible pianist and composer, an improviser and thinker, so and educator, of course. So he was a big inspiration for me, and it still is, and it's a massive encouragement and great teacher, and I owe a lot to those two musical institutions as well as the Guild School of Music.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did I hear that Dennis Baptiste has played some part in your musical career?
Yeah, absolutely. Dennis Baptiste, again, from the school of the Tomorrow's Warriors, and he came up in Tomorrow's way. So he cut his teeth probably in the mid-90s, into the 2000s. His first album, Be Where You Are, featuring Gary Crosby, Rod Youngs, Andrew McCormack, and obviously him on saxophone. And I really kind of honoured the legacy of Tomorrow's Warriors and the lineage that has run through the program. So having Dennis Baptiste feature on my debut album, Faithful, was a real kind of big thing because it's literally that's a nod to the legacy, and it's also a nod to he is was one of my teachers, and he's already full circle now to be recorded with a great musician.
And I read somewhere that it was only during lockdown that you started to compose. So what took you so long? Was it the fact that you're locked in and you couldn't go out? Because I think we all did sort of things that we didn't do. We just started maybe to discover ourselves a little bit. Or was you thinking about composing before then?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's two things that happened in lockdown. The first thing is I compose music. The second thing is I compose hats. The music thing came first. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I really started composition and writing my own music. That was very much in lockdown. Of course, I wrote before. Lockdown provided a real great time to just be immersed in, some of my heroes like McCoy Tyner, Kenny Kevin, Cheltenham, Count Basie, I mentioned now, from the Smug, Blevins, like No Doubt, all kinds of, I take influence from loads of different places, and I try to push that influence into my writing. And I still write, I still love writing. It's one of the best things. It's sad that I don't get as much good ideas as I think I used to. But writing is a very important thing.
It's interesting that you say some of your heroes and you go back to people like Basie and Duke Ellington, and it's sort of, for me, I've been, as I said to you a little bit earlier, that I've been buying a lot of vinyl. So going back to that swing era and listening to some of the big bands, does that sort of help influence some of the style of your music, as well as bands like Weather Report and the Yellow Jackets and then McCoy Tyner and the very underrated Ella Jamal, I have to say?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, my writing, I guess I hate doing this word, but I guess it's the most fitting word, my concept. Writing has always been to write music that is accessible. That's incredibly important to me, is accessibility. There's loads of great jazz now, being made, but some of my problem sometimes can be it's not very accessible. It sounds like music, that's just like ethereal, in a very strange realm of existence, and it's hard for people to relate to. And I think jazz has always gone a kind of a bad rap for being kind of like crazy spacey music. And for me, it's very, very important to write something that anyone, whether you're a jazz musician, whether you're a jazz fan, whether you hate jazz, whether you have never listened to jazz before, it's important that all these groups of people, there's something they can take away from the composition or take away from the gig that they can remember that will edify, enrich them. So, going through all these people, as I mentioned, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, the whole, lineage of jazz piano, you can find something special in all of these different time periods. And what I try to do is try to unite all of them to create something that is relatable and accessible to people.
And one final question: the band that you had with you tonight, were they at college with you, and did you come through Guildhall together?
That's a fantastic lesson. I'll start with the bass player. So the bass player for tonight was my good friend Jacob Grimm. He played the bass tonight. He played the bass very marvelously. After that, as usually always does. I met Jacob when I was 14, 13, something like that. I also came up in the Harringay Young Musicians program headed by Peter Desmond at the time. And it's a kind of regional music service for people who live in North East London, Harringay specifically. And we met there, we met in our local big band on Wednesday after school. And we kept playing. We came to Tomorrow's Warriors, and then our playing relationship grew even more. And my drummer for this evening, Joel Waters, who again played very marvelously and incredibly. I met him in 2020, so I would have been really 20. And he's a good friend, and incredible drummer, incredible thinker of music as well. And those two, it's incredible playing with both of them. Because what I always try to have in the writing as well as accessibility is to create a composition where there are holes. And that might sound kind of like a bad thing, but what I mean by holes is to not write complete compositions, to actually allow them to have their own kind of input into the goings of the composition. Sometimes when you write something that's really detailed and bass player has to do this, drum has to do this way, that can be very kind of restrictive and very controlling, and that's not what I'm about at all. So I try to write in a way that they can shine, and I try to be as democratic as possible, and to give them some sauce, so to speak. So, like for example, the tune we played, the second tune we played, Free, Joe had an open drum solo that set the whole thing out. The tune after that, we've seen Jacob set up with a fantastic bass cadenza thing at the start. There's moments, I try to create moments where they can both shine, they can both edify the composition. So, that's how we play.
Sultan Stevenson, thanks very much for joining.